ahead. Hi everybody, it's Derek here with D's Doing. And today we're out here at my shop, and what I got going on here is I need to build a cart for my shop to kind of roll around, put some tools on and whatnot. And to make this cart, I'm going to need a bunch of woodworking tools. So today we're just going to talk a little bit about some of your basic woodworking hand tools. And so obviously the first thing you need is a good old tape measure. And so what I want to do is obviously, it's a tape measure. Obviously you're going to use it to measure. Well, all the little lines, you can see all these little lines on the tape measure. Well, what are those little lines? How's that work? Somebody says I need a piece of wood that's 7.5 inches, 7 9/16 inches, 7 1/4 inches. Well, how do you read that? What's that all about? Well, what I did is blew it up on a little piece of paper here for you. So when you look at your tape measure, obviously I took a picture of the measurement between 7 and 8 inches. So here's all your little lines on there. Well, what do all those little lines mean? Let's break that down a little bit. All right, so on your little lines here, if you look at your lines here, that's 7 inches and 1/16 of an inches. So there are 16 little lines right here, all the way up to right there's 15/16. This big line number for 8 inches, that is your 16th line. So you obviously start at the first one and you're ending right here. So I say, hey, I need a piece of wood that's 7 inches and 3/16 of an inch long. 1, 2, and 3/16 right there. So it kind of breaks it down for you as you go. And I obviously just wrote 16ths for everything. Well, 8/16. What's 8/16? That's a half an inch right there. So what you got is your 16th. There is 16ths. If that's how technical you're getting into 16th of an inch, what's those little lines? There's 16 of them there. And that's how you can go by using your 16ths. Well, let's say we're not getting that technical and we don't need to go a 16th of an inch. All right. Well, let's break her down a little bit more. Well, we're going with 1/8 of an inch. Well, as you can look, you notice this next set of lines, well, that's even just a little scotch bigger. So you have 8ths. Obviously, there's 8. 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, which is going to be a half an inch, 5, 6, 7/8, and then a whole inch. So that might be another measurement you're using when you're getting into measuring stuff is 1/8 of an inch. Well, let's say you're not even going that small. Let's say we got to go even just a scotch bigger than that. Well, let's take a look here. Well, we're going to break it down into quarters. All right. Well, if you notice this even next set of lines, that's even a little bit bigger there. The quarters. All right. So we're breaking it up into quarters. 1/4, 1/2, 3/4, and a whole inch. So I just want to lay these out here for you so we can see, and we'll just kind of pan on them here with the camera here. Well, let's start just like this. That way, you can kind of look at them there. Kind of breaks it down for you on how to use a tape measure. What do all those lines really mean? And how does that work? Some tape measures, if you look here, this tape measure here has all the lines. This is the tape measure I used to get these pictures off of. You look on this one, I don't know if this tape measure has it. Well, you look on that tape measure, it actually has 8ths, quarters, and whatnot on there. I actually don't prefer using these because it gets kind of confusing looking at all the little lines. They got to make everything a little smaller to get all the fractions on there. But that also works too if you prefer to use something like that. All right, so let's say we got to make something up here. Let's go over a couple of your other basic hand tools that we got here. Well, one of the tools is, let's say we need to level something. Well, we have different levels here. We have what they call a torpedo level. Very tiny, really small. If you're in a small area, you need something small, this is your guy. Now when you use a level, it obviously can be used several different ways. you see this line right here, and all these levels are going to be the same. Black line, black line. That bubble there, you want to be in between that line. So you can see that my workbench is almost level. So that works for obviously horizontal, but you can also do vertical. So let's go here, and you can look on the window sill here. The little bubble, once again, you have your little bubble, and it's in between the two lines. So pretty level there. Then again, we're not building a piano, so we're pretty close for a shop. That's one kind of level. Well, let's say you need something just a little bit bigger. Well, hey, let's jump up to a 2-foot level. Same principle. Now you can see on this 2-foot level, I laid her down, and you can see that I've got this workbench almost level. All right, well, let's say, hey, I don't know, that 2-foot level is not going to be big enough. Well, then we go a little bit bigger. Then we're going to go to a 4-footer. So you look at this 4-foot level right here. Well, look at that. Now this level, you can see, you can look in from the top. Like my cameraman Cam here is showing you. You can look in the top, in between the lines, but also you can look from the side. Now you also have, on either end, you have your bubbles for if you're measuring something that's vertical up and down. Well, you say, well, Derek, that's fine, but that's just not quite big enough. Well, I'll take you and up you one. So then we're going to up you to a 6-foot level. Now, this 6-foot level here is bigger and better. Same principle. You still have your bubble. It's in between the lines. You also have another bubble on either side. You have them down a little bit further. So you don't always have to go back to that middle bubble, because this level is so long, you can, oh look, I can come down here and look. You can also take, it's got your bubbles up here on the top for if you're doing something up and down vertical. So that's one of the tools you'll use when you're doing projects is level. Well, that's fine and dandy, Derek, but how do we make square cuts? Well, how do we do that? Well, let's start back with your little. So what we have here, 2 of them. So what we got here is a square, commonly known as a speed square. Well, they're nice and small. You keep it in your pocket. As you notice here, it's a right angle, 90 degrees. So if you have to take and square something up, and you want to make sure it's square, so let's take this for instance. We take this little container. You can take this little handy dandy speed square, and if you look down in here, you can obviously tell that that little container is not sitting at a total 90 degrees on the workbench. Now, if you push her up just a scotch and you touch, well, right now it is setting at 90 degrees. That's a total 90 degrees right there. Now, these also have different functions for angles and degrees on them, which can sometimes get kind of complicated, but you can pivot them. And you can say, okay, well, we're going to go at a 45-degree angle here. Well, from here, you can see I got a 45. That's a 45-degree angle. Okay, let's take her up a little bit more. It's a 55. Or you go all the way, 90 degree. So those get a little complicated sometimes, but a very practical tool used a lot when you're doing construction work. This is just the daddy version, just a little bit bigger. If you're doing something, need something a little bit bigger. Same thing, just on a bigger scale. Well, you're saying, well, that's fine, Derek. Well, that's pretty cool. What else you got? Well, another commonly used tool that we use in the construction world is a framing square. Framing squares are used, obviously, to square things up. This is, once again, a right angle. You also have, if you can see the markings on here, your inch mark. So if you need a 14-inch piece, well, you go from your corner all the way down here to 14 inches. Okay, you can cross your, you can make a mark there at 14 inches. If you have to cut a piece of plywood or drywall or whatever, and you need a straight edge, well, right there's your straight edge. You can put her on there and whammo. Oh, now we got a straight line right there, then again. Oh, that's nice. Well, Derek, I'm cutting a piece of drywall. Got something big, and that's just not big enough to go from big section like that. Okay, well, what do we have here? This is commonly known as a T-square, obviously because it looks like a T. And you'll notice it says drywall T-square. Well, that's because a lot of drywallers will use it, because a sheet of drywall is 4 feet tall, and they can be 8 feet long, 10 feet, 12 feet long. So if you're cutting something and a piece of drywall or whatnot, you can put this up on the top, and I can't quite do it right here because we can go upside down with it. You can slap it up tight like that, and you can see if there was a sheet of drywall standing here, I could make a mark on that drywall, and I can cut a straight line going up and down. Guides me, keeps me right on my mark. Another form of either measurement, because it's got measurements on it, but it also is used as a straight line or straight edge. All right, well, let's say we got to put a couple nails in. Well, I got an old beater hammer here. Obviously, everybody knows this is a hammer. One of the other popular tools used every day. And we all know how to use those. And we all know that you want to hit the nail, not your fingernail. All right, well, what do we got here? So, this is just your basic little pry bar. It's got a crow's foot. For if you got to get in there, you can take it back your hammer. Designed that if you got to get a nail out, you can take your hammer, tap on the backside here, get it underneath that nail or whatnot, and pull it out. Small one, this isn't real big. If you're really determined and you really have a stubborn nail, you're really not having a good day, and you want to really put the smack down on it, then you can just go to something big Mac Daddy like this one here. As you can see, just a big version of a crowbar for on those days where you're just not messing around. Well, that's fine. That's a good tool there. What other basic hand tools do we have? Well, we have another little straight edge here I'd like to show you guys. It's one of my favorite tools. I like using this one. These are just a couple basic tools. Slides on here. So if you need to make some marks down through a board, let's just say, and this is a little bit rusty here, so it's hard to see. Let's say we're just going to use this as reference. This mark right here. Well, I got to go down this whole workbench and mark whatever that is. Let's just take a measurement here. So that is, about 4 5/8 inches long there. Well, here we go. You can put it right here, right on there. Say, okay, well, there's a little mark there. Let's go down here, little mark, just like that. Well, they say it's not going to work to use a T-square or a speed square or anything like that to make a line. Well, you can just put your little marker right here and hold it, and you can just go like that. Say, look at that beautiful line, right like that. Another little type of square that you have for using. It works phenomenal. A lot of these tools you can get at your basic box stores or whatnot. If you want to go old school, you've even got old tape measures that fold out. This one's old, and I don't use it very often, but if you need something that's rigid, every once in a while that comes in handy. A couple of your basic tools there. Well, let's see, what else do we got here? This is your basic, well, maybe not quite your basic, but this is a compound miter. It's a chop saw, which you can use. And just want to emphasize, whenever using power tools, you always make sure you wear safety glasses and some ear protection on them. Just be safe when anything you're using power equipment wise. We got a chop saw here, sliding, so you can slide back and forth when you cut. Well, hey, I want to slide it a little bit. Cut it at an angle. Well, we can cut it at an angle because your wood's going on the back here. Look at that. We can slide and we can cut angles with it. You can also, the beauty of these saws is you can take them and you can lay them down. Compound miter saw. When you use it both ways, you rotate it back and forth. It's called a compound miter saw. Many more power tools out there, but I'm just wanted to go over a couple of the basics here that I'm going to be using when I build my cart. And when I build the cart, and we'll do a video on that, we can explain and show you a little bit more on how these tools are used and for what purposes and what all they're used for. But just wanted to give you a basic outline of some of the tools that are used for woodworking. There's many more tools out there, and I only have a fraction of what's out there. But this is just a basic kind of overview. How do these certain tools work? What's it for? What's it designed for? You have your power saws, like I said, you've got your power saws. If you're not able to don't have a power saw, we also have a handsaw, old school handsaw. Well, hey, you can use that. Takes a little longer, gets the same thing done. If you're working on a couple pieces of wood that you're screwing together, you're nailing together, we have bar clamps. Well, bar clamp, just something that's going to hold two pieces together. This one just slides, and when you start putting pressure on it, this piece binds on the rod here and doesn't let it slide any. He puts a good cranking on it, holds it tight. Just a clamp. There's many different kinds of clamps that are used for doing woodworking, but this is just some of your basic hand tools, a basic power tool. Like I said, there's many other power tools out there. Just wanted to give you an outline of some of the basic stuff that I'll be using. Might be a couple other things I'll be using when we build this cart, but hopefully this helps you out, gives you a general understanding of what are some of the terminologies, what is some of the stuff used for, how do I use it. Like I said, first rule is safety first. You always safety glasses, hearing protection, just be safe. If you're not comfortable using power equipment, find somebody who can show you how to use a piece of power equipment. So just play it safe. We want to make sure nobody loses any fingers and that we're all safe at the end of the day and we get our projects done. Hopefully this has been helpful to you guys. If it has, please feel free to like and share and subscribe to us. Thank you.